Good afternoon, my name is Corey Hebner. I'm a trooper with the Michigan State Police here at the Gaylord Post, and today I've got my friends from SAFE allowing us to use their Hidden in Plain Sight trailer, and we're going to take you on a tour of what this is. Now, this trailer is designed to look like a kid's bedroom, and what we do is take this to parent-teacher conferences and other events, and we're going to teach you some of the things that should be problematic and give you red flags as parents to teach you what your kids may or may not be into. So let's take a trip. Now, as we come into the trailer, again, it's designed to look like a kid's bedroom. The other thing is the name of this. This is called Hidden in Plain Sight. We want all of these things to be in plain sight. So there's nothing hidden in the walls or in the tunnels of the trailer. We want to make sure that you see and observe some of these things, and then we'll talk about it when you come into the trailer. So the first item that we'll do is we'll come over here to the desk. And when we look on the desk, there's a few things here that should kind of give you some red flags, some that look like normal items, and that's what we really want to talk about. First, flavored tobacco or Swisher Sweets. Unfortunately, flavored tobacco is not regulated the same as cigarettes. So they can add flavorings, tobacco companies can add flavorings to the flavored tobacco, and they can sell them in these things. Even though they're not much different, they can do a lot more product placement with these things at convenience stores, gas stations, etc., and put them right at the front counter. Whereas tobacco, cigarettes have to be behind a counter. The other thing that we see here are some of the vape pens. Again, these contain your favorite type of vape juice. They go into the pen, but they're designed to look a little bit differently than just the old cigarette style vaporizers. There's another one here that a lot of people miss, and it's this one. This is another newer vaporizer. It's called Sojourner, and the unique thing about this one, it looks like a compact or cosmetics, but it also holds two different flavors of vape. So you actually have two different straws, and it contains two different flavors of vape juice. Some of the other things that we see here that should be problematic as a parent, if your kid has a hollowed out book, yeah, they probably put that hidden container in there, and they have that book for a reason. This item here looks like a calculator, but it's actually a digital scale. So if your kid is doing science homework, chemistry homework, it's probably given to them by a teacher. There's a reason for it. But if they have a digital scale and they're weighing different things, you might want to pay attention to why and who they're talking to. Cough syrup, not usually a big deal. But when we see this cough syrup with the DM or the DXM logo, we're not worried about kids getting drunk from the alcohol that's contained in cough syrup. The DXM or the dextromethorphan actually gives a very trippy, euphoric experience as well. So we'll actually see kids drinking cough syrup straight, or we'll see them mix it with Jolly Ranchers and Sprite. And that's kind of common if they're actually using that. Last thing that we have here at the desk is our notepad. And again, lettuce and sauce, that's slang for people that owe me money for lettuce, which is leaf marijuana, so old school leaf. And we see some names here. We see a paid behind an amount. Then we also see maybe a date where we're going to meet somebody. So if you start to see some of these on a notepad, on a calendar, those are the things that you should really start to pay attention to see what your kid is into. Last thing that we have is the clock. And obviously the time on the clock, 4:20. Hopefully 4:20, 7:10, those are different numbers that actually mean something. 420 has been a term that's been used in the marijuana culture for a long time to explain when you smoke your leaf on 420 at 420. The newer term that we see is 710. 710 is actually the word oil upside down. And we'll see it on clothing, we'll see it different places. But what that signifies is my kid doesn't smoke leaf marijuana, they use oil or wax or concentrate in their vape pens. And don't confuse yourself. All of these vapes have vape juice, but you can use any type of substance that you want. This device will heat a substance or a drug. It can be THC, marijuana, it can be crack cocaine. That device doesn't care what it is, it just knows that it's going to heat that substance. As we go over here to the table, some of the things that we see on the table. Visine. If you have a kid that has contacts, not a big thing. But if you have a kid that doesn't have contacts, doesn't have a problem with his eyes drying out, and you start to see Visine, ask those questions. Another vape. This is a device called a Sojourner, and again, it's designed to look a lot different, to be stealthy. And this is how it recharges and how you refill the tank. So again, it looks a lot different, and it's very, very thin, if you can see that, so it can actually fit in a wallet if you're going to hide it in a wallet. Carmex. Now, normally it's just chat balm, but if I'm going to use a waxy substance for my THC, I can actually contain it in Carmex. So I'd squeeze out all the, or just take a used container, and then I could put my marijuana concentrate in there. Some of the other things that we see, one, energy drinks. Energy drinks themselves, you should be concerned about how many energy drinks your kids drink. We don't know the long-term effects of guarine and taurine, which are also in these drinks, besides caffeine and sugar. The other thing is a lot of parents don't realize these can also contain alcohol. And when we mix energy drinks and guarine and taurine, which are stimulants, with alcohol, which is a depressant, it can kind of have a bad reaction in some people's bodies. So you really want to know how it's going to affect you. The other thing is, read the serving sizes. This is a smaller can of energy drink. A lot of the alcohol energy drinks are 22, 24 ounce bottles, and they may be 3, 4, maybe even 4.5 servings. So if you're getting 4.5 servings of alcohol, think of what happens when you slam a 24 ounce bottle, and it's actually 4 or maybe 4.5 shots of alcohol. So you want to think about that. Other thing that we have here, this is just an herbal tea, but because of recreational medicinal marijuana now being readily available, drinkables and edibles are also a thing. So you want to look on the label to make sure it doesn't contain THC, which is a psychoactive ingredient found in marijuana. The bed there's not really much very uncommon about the bed. It looks like a normal kid's bed, right? Got a blanket, some clothes, and a laptop. But what we find with the laptop is this is a vaporizer. And this is exactly how it charges. It charges by plugging into the USB port of the computer. And this is the little refillable tank. I toss this in. I can charge it on my computer, and it looks like a thumb drive. So if you don't know what that is, you have no idea. And what's even worse is I can just slip it in somewhere, and it disappears really, really quickly if mom or dad come in the room, or principal. I just had it in the shirt of my sleeve of my shirt. As we go throughout the room, a lot of these articles over here on the floor, not a big concern, but look at the posters. Look at what the posters are trying to say. This is from the movie Blow, so obviously we're looking at some of the movie stuff, and it's a movie about cocaine, a lot of money in the background. So if that is what your kid is into by putting it on the wall, pay attention. Same thing with this big banner here. When we talk about some of the other types of drugs that we see, especially when we're talking rave drugs, so kids that attend silent discos, kids that like Molly, ecstasy, MDMA. A lot of these rave drugs are usually consumed in the summertime. That's usually when we see them more readily accessible here in northern Michigan. But again, they're into the black lights, the glow lights. It's very trippy, it's very euphoric. And that's what we kind of see with Molly, ecstasy, MDMA. Next is this little closed thing here. This isn't stash gear, but a lot of times we'll find hats that have hidden compartments, hidden zippers, Velcro, and closures. The other thing is if it's got a big, thick sweatband, we see a lot of times where kids will just take their little piece of concentrated shatter or THC, and they'll hide it up in there because you only need a smidgen to put in your vape. As we start to go through here, kind of the old school, the little one-hitters here. You've got a shirt that's got a marijuana leaf in it. This device is called a Whizzinator, and it is exactly like it sounds. This actually has a pouch that you can insert clean urine And if I have a probation or a parole officer, I actually have a device here. There's actually a battery here. It keeps the urine warm, so it's body temperature. And then you actually use this plastic tube, just like you would as a guy or as a female, when you go to the bathroom, and you can hide it into your clothing. And so your probation or parole officer, unless they're actually watching you take that test, it sounds and acts and operates the same as it normally would. And then the last thing that we have down here in the bottom, we forget about alcohol. Alcohol by far is the most readily accessible and easily to access drug that we have. And so, you have to look and see what your kids are doing, and alcohol might be, the drug of choice. As we go over here on the bookcase, we have what we call a cracker or a whippet. What we would do is we actually take oxide, a little oxide container, put it here, we'd crack the seal, and then we'd take a punch balloon, and then we would inflate that punch balloon with the oxide, and then we would actually suck the off gas. No-dos, which are caffeine pills, these are still very, very common. And again, I know people use them to try to stay awake. They don't like the taste of coffee, but if we have somebody that's actually crushing these and snorting these and taking a lot of them, that could be very problematic. We have another vaporizer here. Obviously looks a little bit different. We've got the Rasta colors too, but this, it's called a smoke, but again, it's got the tank and the recharging port. It operates the same way, it's just shaped a little bit differently to make it easier to conceal. And then the last thing that we have here, the old hookah. It's been around for a long time. Usually you'll see 3, 4, 5 straws that come out of a hookah. And traditionally in Middle Eastern culture, these are used for prayer. We're going to take flavored, maybe tobacco that's mixed with molasses or something else that's sweet, and it's going to be a customary thing that we do at prayer time in the afternoon. We'll actually sit down as a group and use a hookah. So these aren't necessarily problematic, but when you see kids using these for different things, especially if it's not a religious-based event, then you're going to want to ask questions about why they have these types of things. This is the Hidden in Plain Sight trailer. Hopefully these are one of the things that you'll see at your local parent-teacher conferences, maybe at a county fair. But we want to try to get this thing out as often as we can, and if you see the Safe in Northern Michigan sign on the trailer, you know that we're going to have Hidden in Plain Sight. We'd love to have you stop in and chat, even if you see this video, because what I found with drug trends is there's a lot of things that change very, very often. And we always like to try to share with parents what's going on in our community so we can keep our kids safe.